In a small Nigerian village where red dust covered the roads and children laughed as they ran between mud houses, there lived a young girl named Amina, who was kind, quiet, and always helping her mother fetch water, cook food, and take care of others even when nobody noticed her efforts. Amina's life was not easy because her family was poor. People often looked down on her, and many girls her age already felt more important than her. But she never complained and always believed that one day her life would change, even though she did not know how or when. One hot afternoon, as Amina was returning from the stream with a heavy pot of water on her head and sweat running down her face, she noticed an old woman sitting by the roadside under a dying mango tree. And the woman looked very strange because her clothes were old but clean. Her eyes were deep and serious, and her voice sounded calm but heavy, like it carried many secrets. The old woman called Amina by her name, even though Amina was sure they had never met before. And this made Amina stop walking because fear and curiosity filled her heart at the same time. The old woman slowly stood up and brought out a neatly folded bra wrapped in a small piece of cloth. And as she placed it into Amina's trembling hands, she spoke gently but firmly, telling her that this bra was a gift that would protect her and guide her through life. But she must never remove it, no matter how hard life became, no matter what people said, and no matter what she felt in her heart. Amina wanted to ask many questions because nothing about this moment made sense, but before she could speak, the old woman warned her again with a serious look, saying that the day she removed the bra would be the day her life would change in a way she might not be able to fix. Confused, scared, and unsure of what to do, Amina accepted the gift because she had been raised to respect elders. And before she could look up again, the old woman had already disappeared as if she was never there, leaving Amina standing alone on the road with the bra clutched tightly to her chest and her heart beating fast. As she continued walking home that evening, the village looked the same, the sun still set in the same way, and people still greeted her as usual, but deep inside, Amina knew that something important had entered her life, something she did not understand yet. And as night came and she put on the bra for the first time, she lay awake wondering why such a simple thing came with such a heavy warning, not knowing that from that moment onward, nothing in her life would ever truly be the same. As the days passed after that strange meeting, Amina tried her best to return to her normal life, but nothing felt the same anymore because the warning of the old woman stayed in her mind, like a voice that refused to go quiet no matter how hard she tried to ignore it. Each morning when she woke up, the first thing she felt was the bra resting on her body, and each night when she lay down to sleep, she remembered the serious look on the old woman's face, reminding herself again and again that she must never remove it, even when it felt uncomfortable or confusing. Slowly, small changes began to happen in Amina's life, changes that were gentle at first, but clear enough to make her notice, because chores that used to make her tired now felt lighter. People who once ignored her began to greet her with smiles, and even her mother started to say that Amina looked brighter and stronger than before. At the market, when she helped sell vegetables, customers chose her basket first, and when she walked through the village, some people turned their heads to look at her, not with mockery, but with quiet wonder, as if something about her presence felt different. However, these changes did not come without fear and struggle, because Amina lived in constant worry about keeping the bra hidden, washing it secretly at night, and avoiding situations where someone might notice it or ask questions. Her friends laughed freely and spoke openly about clothes, beauty, and comfort, while Amina stayed silent, afraid that even a small mistake could bring trouble, and this made her feel lonely because she could not share the truth with anyone, not even the people she trusted most. Soon, whispers began to spread in the village as some people wondered why Amina was suddenly doing well in life while others struggled, and a few elders looked at her with suspicion, saying that such change never came without a reason. Amina heard these words and felt pain in her heart because she had done nothing wrong. Yet society was already judging her, and each time she felt overwhelmed and tempted to remove the bra just to feel free and normal again. She remembered the warning and held herself back, choosing fear of the unknown over the comfort of the present, not knowing that this quiet struggle between obedience and curiosity was slowly pushing her toward a much bigger challenge ahead. As Amina continued living with the secret of the bra, the attention around her grew heavier and harder to escape. because people no longer just watched her in silence but began to ask questions, make comments, and draw their own conclusions about her life. Some women in the village said she was proud and hiding something. Some young girls felt jealous and whispered behind her back, and even a few elders began to warn others to be careful around her, making Amina feel like she was slowly becoming a stranger in the same place she had grown up. The pressure became even stronger when a young man named Musa, who had always admired Amina from a distance, finally gathered the courage to speak to her and showed interest in her, because he noticed her confidence, her calm spirit, and the way people seemed drawn to her presence. As their conversations grew closer, Musa began to ask simple questions about her habits and her body, not with bad intentions at first, but with curiosity and concern. And each time Amina avoided answering, fear grew in his heart that she was hiding something dangerous or shameful. At home, Amina's mother also began to worry because neighbors came to her with strange stories and warnings, telling her that her daughter's sudden change could bring trouble to the family, and this made her mother gently pressure Amina to live like other girls, dress freely, and stop behaving in a way that invited gossip. Amina wanted to obey her mother and fit into society, but the warning of the old woman stood like a wall in her heart, forcing her to choose between respect for tradition and obedience to the mysterious rule that now controlled her life. One evening, as Amina sat alone feeling tired, confused, and emotionally broken, she wondered if the bra was truly a blessing or a trap, because it had given her strength but taken away her peace, made her stand out but also made her lonely, and she began to think that maybe removing it would return her life to normal and silence the voices around her. As temptation filled her mind and pressure closed in from every side, Amina stood at the edge of a decision that could either free her from society's judgment or push her into a fate she could not yet see. And it was at this moment of weakness and doubt that the true test of her destiny quietly began. That night, Amina could not sleep because her mind was full of heavy thoughts and her heart felt like it was being pulled in two different directions at the same time, as one side reminded her of the old woman's warning, while the other side replayed the voices of her mother, Musa, and the village people who treated her like she was hiding something evil. She turned from side to side on her mat, listening to the sounds of insects outside and the quiet breathing of her family. And the bra on her body suddenly felt heavier than it ever had before, as if it was no longer just cloth, but a burden pressing down on her spirit. The next day brought even more trouble, because at the market a group of women openly accused Amina of using dark powers to attract good things to herself, and their words were sharp and painful, making people stop and stare while Amina stood there feeling small and ashamed, even though she had done nothing wrong. Musa, who happened to pass by, looked at her with worry instead of trust, and when he later asked her one final time to explain her secret and she still stayed silent, he walked away disappointed, leaving Amina feeling abandoned by the one person she hoped would understand her. By evening, Amina reached her breaking point because the weight of judgment, loneliness, and fear became too much for her young heart to carry, and she felt that obeying the warning was destroying her life instead of protecting it. Sitting alone in her small room with tears running down her face, she whispered to herself that she only wanted peace and acceptance, and she began to believe that the old woman's words might have been exaggerated or even untrue, because how could something meant to help her cause so much pain? With shaking hands and a racing heart, Amina slowly removed the bra for the first time since the day she received it, and the moment it left her body, a strange cold feeling passed through her like a sudden wind, making her chest tighten and her vision blur. The room felt different, the air felt heavy, and fear rushed into her heart as she realized she might have made a mistake, but before she could put it back on, a loud cry escaped her mouth as she collapsed to the floor, knowing in that terrifying moment that the warning had not been empty words, and whatever had been holding her life together had just been broken. When Amina opened her eyes, she did not know how much time had passed, because everything around her felt slow and distant, and her body was weak as if all the strength she once had been drained away in a single moment. Her mother sat beside her crying softly, holding her hand and calling her name again and again, while neighbors stood outside whispering in fear because news had already spread that something terrible had happened to the girl everyone had been talking about. Amina tried to speak, but her voice came out small and shaky, and the first thing she felt was regret. Because deep inside, she knew that removing the bra had opened a door that was never meant to be opened. That same night, as rain fell heavily and thunder shook the village, the old woman appeared again, standing quietly at the doorway, as if she had always been there, and her eyes were filled with sadness instead of anger. She explained that the bra was never ordinary because it was a shield tied to Amina's destiny, meant to protect her from a future filled with hardship, jealousy, and spiritual harm. But it only worked as long as Amina trusted the warning more than the noise of the world. The old woman spoke gently, saying that society would always test those chosen for greater paths, and the pressure Amina faced was not punishment, but preparation for the strength she was meant to grow into. Amina listened with tears flowing freely, realizing that the bra was not meant to make life easy, but to help her survive the storms ahead, and by removing it, she had allowed those storms to reach her before she was ready. The old woman told her that some protections, once broken, could never return fully, and although Amina would live, her life would no longer be the same because she would now have to face challenges with less protection but greater wisdom. Before leaving, the old woman reminded her that every choice carries a cost, and every lesson leaves a mark, whether good or painful. When morning came, Amina felt weaker, quieter, and changed, and the village that once envied her now pitied her. While Musa and others realized too late that their doubts and pressure had pushed her into a dangerous decision. As Amina slowly sat up and looked around, she understood that her innocence was gone. Her secret was no longer hidden, and the consequences of listening to society over inner truth would stay with her forever, but deep inside her heart, a new understanding began to grow, preparing her for the final stage of her transformation. As days turned into weeks, Amina slowly learned how to live again, even though her body was weaker and her spirit carried a quiet sadness that had not been there before. Because the protection she once felt was gone, and the world now touched her more deeply than ever. People in the village began to treat her differently, not with jealousy or fear anymore, but with regret and silence, because they had seen how their words and pressure had helped push her into a painful choice. And this change made Amina understand that society often realizes its mistakes only after damage has already been done. Amina no longer stood out the way she once did, but she grew in a new way, becoming wiser, calmer, and more careful with her choices, because pain had taught her lessons that comfort never could. She stopped trying to please everyone and began listening more to her inner voice, understanding that not every gift is meant to be explained and not every warning is meant to be questioned, especially when it comes from a place older and deeper than human understanding. Musa returned to apologize, her mother held her closer than before, and even the elders spoke gently around her. But Amina knew that no apology could erase what had already happened. In time, Amina began helping other young girls who struggled with pressure, judgment, and fear, teaching them to trust themselves and respect wisdom even when it does not make sense at first. And through this, her pain slowly turned into purpose. Although she never saw the old woman again, Amina felt her presence in quiet moments, like a reminder that destiny speaks softly and expects patience in return. And those who rush to silence it often pay a heavy price. The story of Amina spread beyond the village, becoming a lesson told by parents to children and elders to the young, reminding everyone that obedience is not weakness, patience is not foolishness, and society's voice is often louder but not wiser than ancient truth. And so Amina's life became a living warning and a gentle guide, teaching that true transformation does not always come from keeping the gift, but from understanding its meaning too late and choosing to live better because of it.